All right. Thanks for coming back to the Bigfoot Society podcast. Today, we have the privilege of talking to Jay Bachochin from the Kettle Moraine area of Wisconsin. And Jay, thanks for coming on. I'm going to go ahead and have you kind of introduce yourself, if you don't mind.
All right. Hey, thank you very much for having me on your show, number one. Um, let's see where to begin. It was back in 1967. No, I'm just joking. I dated myself there, but uh, I always call myself just a normal guy, a family guy, a working guy, except with this coronavirus thing going on.
Right.
It's kind of had me stuck in home because I'm not essential apparently. Um, but through my whole life, I have always had a fascination with the weird, the bizarre, and crazy. I mean, this even goes back to like creature features back in
Yeah.
the 70s, probably a lot way before
Yeah.
your time there. But I was into the Godzilla movies, King Kong.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Um, when people were out, I like to say playing softball and everything. I was downstairs watching Godzilla. And
That's awesome.
thanks. But I've always been into the weird. So I've always been kind of a strange character. But it wasn't until like 1977 where I was living in Lindenhurst, Illinois,
Hmm.
and me and my family at night on a Friday night saw an amazing display of lights in the sky. It was my first UFO encounter. It was all of ours, and it was fascinating. It wasn't just like a star or like a meteor. This thing was spinning, hovering, not moving,
Oh, wow.
silent. Then it would blink out and it would be across the sky within a second.
Wow.
It blew us away. But it stayed in our area, which, now I wish I would have had my phone record it
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
question why were the UFOs around there and hovering around, which is pretty creepy. But my grandpa, who was in early chapter MUFON in Chicago, Illinois,
Hmm.
we had a great bond there. And he was, I always like to say, he was a very early version of Fox Mulder.
Yep.
And yeah, he was searching for the truth. So throughout my life, even though I've always been into the strange, unusual circumstances out there, or the experiences people do, I was really into at least, when TAPS formed Ghost Hunters.
Yep.
That
Yep.
was the only one on the TV at the time. And as much as I was watching it, I was really into it. But after a season or two, I remember going, is this real or is this just TV? So
Right.
me and my wife formed a team called the Wisconsin Paranormal Investigators. And we would bring some friends, whoever showed interest. And our team got up to about like 10, 10 different teammates. And it was a revolving door of people. And we would research houses. People would request for us to come out and we'd have to try to help debunk it or to see if we can capture any
Wow.
evidence.
Okay.
And yeah, we would do like the Ohio State Reformatory in
Okay.
in
Yep.
um, in Ohio.
Yep.
And then at this point, it was getting to be around 2012-ish or 13. The requests weren't coming in anymore.
Hmm.
TV exploded with, I like to say, all the supernatural stuff, Ghost Adventurers.
Right. Yeah.
You've seen them all. They just
Hmm.
started saturating the TV.
Sure. Sure.
And at that point, I'm like, even the team started getting a little, I want to say, a little burnt out. I mean,
Hmm.
it just what it was. And I thought, you know what? I live here in Wisconsin, southeast Wisconsin. We're
Okay.
about 15-minute drive from Bray Road. I mean, we've all heard of Bray Road.
Oh, really? That's cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
Yep.
like, since I'm not just into ghosts, I'm into anything crazy and
Hmm.
bizarre. I thought, hey, as a team, let's just go drive down Bray Road. It's a 5 mile
Yeah.
stretch
Sure.
of road. The only, I was gonna say there's nothing ominous about the road. Maybe at night, because you have that already that thought that whoa, there's something out here. But
Yeah.
if you're just driving down it,
Yep.
it's all farmland. You can't get off to investigate because everybody owns that farmland and they're all
Oh, okay. Yeah.
third or
You
fourth
don't want to get
generation
shot at.
farmers.
Right.
Exactly. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
so we would do that. But then as we just kept driving, we would do like 2, 3 a.m. drives around there. We started going further north and we ended up in the Kettle Moraine.
Okay. Yep.
And in the Kettle Moraine, there was 4 of us that one night, and we got out and actually walked into the woods at dark. We're pretty good. It was October. It was a nice fall night. And we get out there, and we're thinking Beast Bray Road, and all of a sudden we heard something. And I was recording at the time, but it was a cheap digital tape camcorder.
Sure.
And it really was. It was horrible with capturing faraway sounds.
Oh,
we
yeah,
heard
yeah.
we heard this. It almost sounded like a simian, like a monkey. And none of us have heard it. I mean, we're all, in our later 40s, at the time, or mid 40s, and nobody ever heard this. And we kind of boot scoot and boogied out of there pretty quick. But
Yep.
then we wanted to like check on the soundboards of all indigenous Wisconsin animals, and we could never find a match. And at that point, I'm like, wait, somebody said Bigfoot. And I'm like, the one thing nobody ever asked me, I believe Loch Ness Monster. I could believe in the Jersey Devil. Maybe just from fantasy or imagination that I always grew up with. And somebody was saying Bigfoot. And I think at this point, I'm like, there's no such thing as Bigfoot. Bigfoot's a unicorn. It's a leprechaun.
Right, that's where you draw the line, right?
I drew the line. I mean, honestly, you tell anybody that you saw Bigfoot, and you might as well, I mean, it was an embarrassing thing to even utter the word Bigfoot. You're like, dude, you might as well go, find the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy.
No, you make yourself look a little crazy. It's true. Yeah, it's totally true. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
So, and I guess at this point, finding Bigfoot was already on.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I missed the first 3 seasons, I think, at this point, because it was 2013. And I didn't really care to watch Finding Bigfoot because it was like finding a unicorn. It made no sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had no interest in Bigfoot at all. And that's a good soundbite. I did not believe in Bigfoot.
And seen.
And seen. But, and I know that was probably a longer introduction answer that you wanted. But this is just kind of how it just started for me. And after hearing those vocals and not getting those out of my head, I had to go back out there.
Yeah. And honestly, that's awesome.
Yeah. And honestly, that's where my journey began. Right at that point.
Very cool. Yeah. And in case the listeners don't know, I'm going to guess most of them do, because Jay's made an awesome documentary called Finding Jay, and it is everywhere. I highly recommend you check it out, because I mean, the camera work in it is great. I love the drone footage at the beginning. It's very, very cool. You kind of grazed over, just said Kettle Moraine, but when you actually see it, it's a beautiful forest, and just the fact where it's like these valleys and dips that are super huge, made by glaciers, right? Like, it's got to be an incredible landscape up there, I would imagine.
It's phenomenal. And I want to give kudos to Scott Marcus, who was his drone, because I mean, he's he films out in Hollywood and all these other places.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he gets these good shots. But we shot that footage in 2015, and it was not meant for any documentary. This was actually, he came out one time. I took him out to the Kettle, and he wanted to get a good aerial shot of what it actually looked like, because it's hard to see on like Google Maps or something. Yeah. But you're right. The Kettle Moraine stretches, over 150 miles up through the state of Wisconsin. It's like 55,000 square acres of dense woods, like you were saying, the valleys, the ponds, the lakes. And, when we go just into one of our little research areas, you can get turned around so easy in there.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So, you think about it, but when you do see the footage, it's immense. It's, I always say it's my home away from home.
I mean, yeah, you gotta check it out. Like, it's really good. And I would say probably the best way is to buy a copy of it. You can also see it on like Amazon Prime. I noticed it's on there as well. Probably either way is going to benefit Jay and help his work, which is awesome. I like it because there's a lot of, it's like you're following a story when you watch this documentary. And there's certain scenes that really stick out to me, and I watched it about a year ago. And I just watched it 2 days ago to refresh it in my mind.
Yeah,
But
thanks.
different things I noticed each time. Uh, One scene I really liked, if we could maybe bring you back to that time, is
Yeah, yeah.
there's a scene with you and a gentleman named Sanjay,
Yes.
and there's a lot of electricity in the air. There's a back and forth. Things are throwing. Something's throwing acorns or rocks at you through the trees. And can you kind of maybe bring the listener to how it felt that day, what was
Yeah.
going on?
Well, I'll tell you what, Sanjay Singhal, great friend of mine now. Would you believe that footage was the first time I ever met him? We were so,
Really?
we were supposed to
Okay.
go we were supposed to go on an afternoon hike, me, Sanjay, and Linda Godfrey.
That's funny. That's
Yeah,
really
and
funny. You'd never know because it's like you guys were super connected, and I was like, they've
right,
got to be like,
best
work
buds.
buddies or something. Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
weird.
now
Okay.
it gets crazy, but that's because Sanjay's a great guy
Yeah,
and
sure.
a researcher and does that. And I feel like I always give everybody that benefit. And when we went out there again, Linda couldn't make it, but we were
Hmm.
walking out there, and I started recording on that digital tape camcorder. I've updated with body cams and everything else since then, since
Okay.
2014. But that's what I had then. Actually, it was the only unit I had that could record in infrared. So if we were
Sure.
going out there later and it got
Yep.
darker, at least I'd
Yep.
have infrared. I did
There
have
you go.
another
Hmm.
HD camera, but so I let this thing just run. It was on, and I'm holding this big kind of small boxy thing,
Okay.
and I'm recording what we do here. And as we're walking, I'm not really looking at what I'm recording. And then Sanjay would look at something and I'd spot down. And I remember at one point, it was really intriguing when I went back through all the tape. Is he said it seems like there's a bunch of acorns dropping, and I think I just kind of agreed with him, and that's not like me. I don't really. If somebody says, "Shh, you smell that?" As a Ghostbuster reference,
Right. Right. Right.
um, you
Exactly.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yep.
if like, "Shh, did you
Yep.
hear that?" And I'd be like, "No." I mean, I'd never want to add fuel to the fire, coal to the fire, and but I did when I was recording it. So I don't know why. I didn't have to know I heard him. It was early on in our hike, and as we're walking around, if you remember, I don't know what I caught, but there was some sort of black anomaly on the left side of the trail
Yeah.
that
Yep.
kind of, again, we don't know what it was. Say in the film, a black, or it's an artifact, a video
Hmm.
artifact. It's one of the most bizarre things because I didn't really pay attention to that after watching it the first time
Right.
in 2014. I just went to the
Mhm.
rock parts. And so I'm looking at it and I'm like, what the hell is it? And whatever it is, it seems like it's keeping pace and moving further away from us as we're walking
Yeah.
when it shouldn't, even as an
Yep.
optical illusion. And the cool thing is I actually stopped and look in that area. I don't know why, because I didn't know it was there. But if you remember, I kind of looked at that area and it
Yeah.
wasn't there. And
Exactly.
so that I wanted to put in that part of that film because it really is important for what's about to happen next. We're getting ready. It's starting to get dusk, so it's going to look not dark, but it's not as light as it was. So it's starting to go down a little bit, and we're walking, and all of a sudden, sure as anything, something drops by my feet, and it sounds like a rock. And I mean, I
Yeah.
heard it, and I
Yep.
record it,
Yep.
but I'm like, you heard me. I'm like, I hope was that an acorn or was that a rock? And Sanjay's like, it sounded like a rock, but you can't be sure, right? It
Right.
could have been a heavier nut of an acorn or something dropping because we didn't hear anything go through the trees, just landed by my feet.
Okay.
We were on the trails a little away from the trees. It didn't compute. It was just weird.
Yeah.
But as we continue to walk, here comes another one. But this time you could actually hear it being thrown through the trees. I always say, if you listen to an acorn, they're going to fall. They're going to fall vertically,
Yep.
and
Exactly.
they might hit a branch or something
Yep.
like that on the way down. This was going through the leaves. It was
Yeah. You
September.
could tell. Yeah.
You could hear it go, and
Yep.
it would land by our feet again as we were
Hmm.
moving. So this happened several more times. And at this point, I was like, who's throwing rocks? I didn't say Bigfoot was throwing rocks. I
Yeah,
really
right,
I
right.
didn't
Yeah.
really think about that. I'm just thinking, well, what is that? And then they stopped, and I'm like, huh, let's try an experiment. I'm a hunt the truth kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I pick up a rock and throw it out to where I'm thinking the rocks are coming from. And as soon as I do that, a crap load of rocks get whipped from a far distance, because you can hear the trajectory of it
Yep.
just hitting the leaves, just and getting louder, 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 and landing by my feet again.
Yeah, it's wild. It's pretty wild.
So, I'd say if you're a Bigfoot believer, you would say it was Bigfoot. If you're a skeptic, you would
Right.
say, like one of the guys on there, it was a hunter, somebody's trying to spook you or whatever. And some of that doesn't make sense to me, because number one, even if they're trying to spook me, the terrain off those paths are crazy. It's not like a flat bridge that you're up and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
looking down and you can kind of lead them and then throw it and then be accurate. No, they're throwing through trees. My son actually said, how about the accuracy on that?
Mm.
If you think about it, if we were out in the woods and we tried to throw a rock at the path,
Mm-hmm.
what's the chances we're going to
Yeah.
miss every tree, every, briar, everything to get right by your feet every time, or right in
Yeah,
between
that's wild.
and sand
That's wild,
jags.
right? Yeah,
So,
that's a good point.
yeah. And then,
There are
I was going to say one more quick thing,
yeah, go ahead.
but you did see that branch.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when I stop and that branch lowers?
Yeah, that's a wild part. That is a wild part.
Again,
Yep.
here's the thing. I focused so much when I researched all my tape back in 2014 and always looked at just the rock throws. And as I was making the documentary to get the rock throws is when I found that branch moved. And
Mm-hmm.
that is weird. Again, Bigfoot or not, something would have had to cause it to pull down.
Yeah,
And
oh, totally. Yeah.
I always say, hey, if it was a small animal or a squirrel, even if a raccoon was coming out that time, as they move, you would see the branch as it goes, right? You kind of see the bouncing of the branch. This thing was literally like this and just went and was held. It was like, and just held down. So I don't know.
I mean, there's so many really crazy stories, or I should say interesting, not crazy to say, you know what I mean, but
I
let's say
know.
interesting.
Yeah.
The one that, oh man, I have two pads in my mind. But I really wanted to address this. So you have, in your documentary, you have your young kids with you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part that I wanted to talk with you directly about is
Yeah.
you're in the Kettle Moraine with is it Blake and McKenna?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And there's one part where your kids actually see something and you're like, your dad sense kicks in, you're like, it's time to get them out.
Yeah.
Talk to me, maybe like what kind of stuff was going through your head there. That's pretty,
Man,
as a dad, I would be like, wow, it's go time. Yeah.
it is. And you know what? And that's always been one of my things. You've heard of David Pilates missing 411.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Don't know what it is, but
Yep.
going out in the woods, we're going to go for a 45-minute hike in this
Mm-hmm.
circle, a different area than the other place, but as the crow flies, not too far.
Right.
And I took him out, and I always practice safety first when I'm out
Right.
there.
Mm-hmm.
That's my number one rule of hiking: safety first. If it doesn't feel right, leave.
Yep.
If your hiking partner is freaked out, you know what? It's best not to do this, because if anything was to happen, this guy doesn't have your back. Excuse
Sure.
me.
Yeah.
And so when I'm out with my kids, I always say no more than 15 feet ahead of me. I always trail.
Yeah.
I
That's smart.
never lead, because I want to see what's going on in front of me. And during that hike, I had a weird feeling, and I know feelings really aren't evidence at all, but I can tell you I've been in this area hundreds of times, and I
Mm-hmm.
could be there at 11, 12 o'clock at night
Okay.
and not feel a thing, more like
Wow.
sitting at home in
Yep. Yep.
that's how comfortable I
Sure.
am. This was about 3 p.m. in the afternoon in December. 3:30, because the sun's, you could just, in those winter months, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
And I was having these weird feelings, and I really didn't want my kids to really know that. They know what I do when I go out there. In fact, they like to do it
Right.
too, but they don't
Right.
sit there and, Dad, look a Bigfoot, Dad, look a Bigfoot, Dad. They don't do that. And this was about maybe, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes into the hike is when we started turning the corner to start heading around back to the truck because it was going to be a
Mhm.
small hike. Kids were young.
Yep.
And Blake, the look on his face is nothing compared to what the video was.
Okay.
I try to record testimonial right off the
Right.
bat.
Right.
And he started telling me, he's like, there's something that just moved. I mean, his face was priceless of believability until I'm like, hold on, keep that thought, man. I wish I would have just let him talk, but I got my phone out, hit video, go. And then he starts to explain it. But his first initial reaction was he looked frightened, you know? And
Hmm.
it
Wow.
was one of those things where he said he saw something move off to the left.
Hmm.
And as he's talking and I'm recording him, I remember panning up with my camera. And I'm also, or not my camera, my phone. And
Yeah.
I can actually hold it up and look with my own eyes. When I'm
Sure.
looking, I'm not just looking through the phone.
Yeah.
And I see this dark patch out there. And it does catch
Mm.
my eye, but it didn't feel right.
Mhm.
I didn't, it's like I didn't feel like, petrified or scared. It was more a
Right.
warning, a red flag of get out of there. There's something I didn't really explain in there. As I was saying when I was filming it, I said I didn't want to keep my camera on it because I felt if I did, I was doing something wrong. Do you
No,
remember
you,
me
you
saying
do
that?
actually say that, and that's the part where I'm like, oh wow, that's very interesting. Actually, when you say that, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, because a lot of people, I've been criticized for, why do you just go out there if that was a Bigfoot? Why, until you're in the situation. I know I had my two
Yeah.
kids there, and I'm not going to play action Jackson
Exactly. Right.
with doing
Yeah.
that, but I didn't even want to stick around there. To clarify what I meant by that was the reason why I didn't want to film it is I said, can you imagine going into a bad part of the city? We can say Chicago, Milwaukee,
Sure.
wherever, New
Yep.
York, and it's late at night. There's only 2, 3 cars parked out there.
Yep.
You're going to your car to get into your car. A kitty corner from you looks like 2 guys are trying to crank open the door with a tool. Now, can you imagine picking the video camera up and facing it towards them?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
phone.
Not a good idea.
Not
Right.
a good idea. Why and how come?
Because you're asking for trouble.
Because what would happen if they saw you?
They didn't want to take you out.
Exactly.
Yep.
So therefore, that's really what I meant when I said I saw this shadowy figure out there,
Yeah.
and
Sure. That
I did
makes
not
sense.
want to keep my camera on it. It was
Yeah.
weird. And
Okay.
you know what? You could always say Monday morning quarterback or rookie mistake or you know whichever. All I know is that I my kids were my top priority, and I
Yeah.
felt I
As it should be.
really
Yep.
yeah, and I felt
Yep.
it was just time for them to go. And I know Blake was kind of telling me what he saw, and McKenna chimes in, and I saw the same type of Bigfoot. He pointing to her brother. She's only what
Right.
5 at the time, 6.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
what he saw, I go, well, what was it? It was brown and it had big feet. Okay, so
Yeah.
you know
Right.
that's the cute part of it being that young, and growing up in this. But my son, you know, he later on, even I think it was even a year later, year and a half later, after that incident happened in 2017,
Okay.
and he said, I Dad, I don't know if I really saw it. He's, and I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I and he kept feeling kind of bad. He
Hmm.
goes, mate, I don't know. But I didn't really show him that footage of what was blown up,
Okay.
what it is. And then when he saw it, it was like his memory came back.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Sure.
I guess I like to share that story because it's hard for me to remember the rock incident unless I watch it. It
Yeah.
was so long
Exactly.
ago.
Yeah.
We're humans. It's there. It's a wow factor. You try to
Hmm.
process it, it's gone. Just like
Yeah.
the sighting I had. I'm
Yep.
like,
That evidence. Yeah.
damn, yeah, I wish I could go back there and sit and watch me watch it so I could
Sure.
watch it longer.
Yeah.
And but that's the reason why I like to tell the Blake story, is because you forget about these things. You question yourself, and though you should, it was something pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, so those two scenes, let's
Hmm.
say, that's just a tip of the iceberg from Finding Jay. There's many, many more scenes. So, definitely everyone listening to this, watching this, check it out. After I watched that, I was like, okay, so what is he doing now after this? So I kind of went on a Jay deep dive here,
Yeah.
and I found your YouTube channel, found your Instagram. There's one thing I noticed on the Instagram I wanted to bring up, and I didn't see the date on this. I think it's pretty recent. I'll let you,
Hmm.
fill that in. But you had put a audio recorder
Hmm.
on a tree out
Yep.
in the woods and let it play, and then you went
Right.
and retrieved it. Have you gone over that audio yet, or
I did.
okay,
And again, the reason why I don't post it is if I don't have any news. I
right?
don't want to. I don't
Yeah,
want to just post something saying, "Hey, guess what? I found nothing." But in a way, I should. But I'm not. I'm not posting for that popularity, that comment, that like, and how many
yep,
friends
yep.
or whatever. I'm doing it for the truth. And if I don't have anything to really reveal, I feel, why really do it? But um, the one thing I did learn about this audio recorder is, while it has enough memory to record up to 35 hours, that's kind of an on, off
Okay.
usage. So
Mm,
if you were, the battery I have should be
yep.
able to last, weeks, right?
Mm,
And
okay.
that way you could be recording for 1 hour here, half hour here, turn it off, record it, dictation or whatever. I put a fresh battery in it, hit go. It records 8 hours when it's active. So even though I
Okay.
have 35 hours of space to put on there, I can only record up to 8 hours before the unit shuts off.
Interesting.
There's nothing I can do about it, but it's something that I've learned. So
Okay.
when I do this again, they've closed down all state parks and everything in
Yeah,
Wisconsin. So
up there. Well, I'm in central Iowa. We kind of have a little bit more. We're self quarantining, but
yeah,
you guys up there are pretty much locked down, right?
yeah, we're
Yeah.
locked down, and
Okay.
it's funny, the memes that come out on Facebook is
Oh, yeah.
it shows somebody like on an empty lake on a boat with a sunset with a fishing pole in his son, and it said, "This is not safe," and it shows Walmart with a bunch of people saying, "This is safe."
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, it
Well, yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Hopefully, people in the future are really confused about what we're talking about. That would be awesome to know that we've gotten to the point that we're confused. But if you're confused, we're talking about the COVID-19 of 2020. So look that up.
Yeah,
Hopefully, that
actually, you
goes
think
away
about it,
eventually.
right? Actually, if you think about it, this podcast is making history. We're
Yeah,
actually doing this. So if anybody finds this digital footage in the future,
that's
say hello to
true.
your future self, or
Yeah.
your, old my son being an old grandpa.
Yeah,
But
he'll check it out.
yeah, but they really kind of shut it down here right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I haven't been back out with that audio device.
Okay.
Like I said, it records up to 8 hours. So
Sure.
next time, because what I really want to capture is the overnight stuff.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So if you think about it, I'd have to get out there more. And I've been out there as late as 11, 12, 1, you
Mm.
know.
Yep. Yep.
But the people that I hike with are either too cold, too mosquito-y, too tired. So I haven't found an exact clone of me to get out there and say, "Hey, Jay, you want to do it? Yeah, Jay, let's do it."
Right.
And be
Right.
out there and go for the long haul. But yeah, it's next time I go out there, I'll have to put the recorder out, fresh batteries, fresh
Okay.
everything, probably around 11 o'clock, and get the overnight, because
Yep.
the Kettle
Exactly.
Moraine,
Mhm.
you think, as vast as it is still kind of surrounded by communities all the way around,
Oh,
you know.
interesting. Okay.
And then it gets open, and then there's more population, and it goes like that all the way through the state of Wisconsin. So vocalizations, especially during the day or 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock hours, might, if they're this loud, could they be heard from locals? Absolutely. And I really wish I could just knock on everyone's door and be like, "Hey, you guys live up here. Do you guys ever hear like a weird howl?" And just try to
Right.
get people
Exactly. Yeah.
to answer that.
Yep. Yep.
However, what happens at 2, 3, 4 in the morning when
Mhm.
most of the human population is sleeping, can they
Exactly.
converse at that time? Damn it.
Yeah.
I want to find that answer.
Gotcha.
I want
Gotcha.
that. So that
Yeah.
last one only recorded until about, I think I put it on around 5. It got done around midnight and nothing. I
Okay.
mean, uh,
Good to know, though.
yeah,
I mean,
you
yeah.
kind of hear some wind
Yep.
blow. That's the other thing is if there's no wind with this particular mic or this particular unit, really picks that up. So it's like, do I get it? Now I'm thinking, do I have to get, extended microphone with a windshield on it to place
Right.
out there?
Right.
But I'm like, you
Mhm.
saw what I put it in. And it was camo,
Yeah. Yeah. No.
a white
I mean,
recorder.
yeah. It worked. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
served its purpose. But then here's the
Yeah.
other thing. Just like ghost hunting, it's
Hmm.
one of the things that I would never do to go back if I was going to ghost hunt to do it
Okay.
that way. People go out to a house by request or by pay and play or whatever they're going to do to investigate, and they do it for a night. And I know there's a lot of equipment they have to check through. It's not just one audio device the whole night. There's generally, 4 or 5 of those, and there's static cameras everywhere. And you
Right.
have to look at every one of those when you do a ghost investigation um, in real time. You can't skip forward. You can't be distracted and pet the dog or whatever. You have to focus on your evidence, and that takes a long, long time. However, even though it takes a long time, one night in a house does not make it haunted or not. You have to be
That's a good
tenacious,
point.
yeah, and get
That's a
out
good
there
point.
over and over and over again, not revisit it in 6 months or a year. Get out
Yeah.
there the next weekend. If you could stay there for a week, to get the people to move out, saying, "Hey, we'll investigate your house for a week." But anyway, but that's how the woods is.
Oh yeah. No, that's true.
Same thing. So that recording that I caught nothing doesn't make me feel like, oh man, I only recorded it this time and there was nothing. Try it again. Try it
Yeah.
again. Try it
Yep. Try it
again.
again.
Try it again.
Try it again. What is, let's say, thinking into the future? What's coming down the road for Jay? What are your plans, goals? I know you've been involved with some pretty cool stuff recently. Didn't you? You helped interview Ron Moorhead on
Yeah,
a
yeah.
podcast, that's pretty awesome. It's
It
very
was,
cool.
yeah, because
Yeah.
definitely he was definitely
Yep.
him and Dr. Jeff Meldrum. I gotta say those two guys are just, I mean, they're my go-to guys in the Bigfoot
That's
world
awesome.
of, instead of
Yep.
being a TV personality, they're good guys.
They got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what's on the line for me? I am going to release Finding Jay Lost and Found this summer. What that is
Awesome.
it's bonus material. It's going to be extended
Oh
interviews with
man.
Randy. So you'll get to see more
Okay. Yeah.
of what happened when he got back to the station and
Police officer
yeah,
gentleman at the
police.
very end of
Yes.
the documentary. Yeah, that's a great story.
Oh,
If you're listening, you gotta check it out. I mean, just for that, that's fantastic.
it was. That's why I wanted to
Wow.
put it. That's why I put him at the end, and at the end of the credits said everyone's listed and Randy Messamore at the end.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. So
Very intense. Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to
okay.
release that this summer. It won't be as long as the 2-hour documentary. Everyone says it was
Mhm.
too long, but you know what? Before it hit the cutting room floor, it was longer than Avengers Endgame. I had to cut it. I had to get it cut down to
That's
under 2
awesome.
hours, and I
Yeah.
couldn't do it. And
Oh man.
it is what it is. So, Finding
Wow.
Jay Lost and Found will be primarily some behind the scenes,
Okay.
stuff like
That's
that.
awesome.
So,
Great. That's
yeah,
kind of breaking news there, right?
yeah, it's breaking news.
That's awesome.
You're hearing
I
it.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. We'll be definitely looking forward to that. Is the best way to follow your exploits and everything. It looks like Instagram is kind of you're maybe focusing on that, or what would you say? Like if there's someone that is really into this interview, they go watch Finding Jay and they want to keep up to date with what you're doing. Do you recommend
You know what?
anything
I tell them
specific?
this. Instagram, that's kind of an addiction to post.
Right.
And
Yeah.
for me, I don't get on there to follow a bunch of people or
Sure.
worry about a bunch of people following me. I'm putting that out there, and some of it's, meme type stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
It
but to
is.
get
Yeah.
the actual is going to my website, jaybachochin.com.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's actually a new, updated, fresh website, great
Okay.
navigation. I'm throwing a lot more pictures in the gallery. It's basically, it's a different host service than what I've been using. So I've kind of
Okay.
revamped the whole website. Everybody always knew me as Jay of WPI, Hunts the
WPI.
Truth,
Yep.
or Wisconsin.
Yep.
But the thing is, even though that is what me and my wife founded, and it is our baby, it's our umbrella company
Sure.
or umbrella organization, we'll always keep that. It's going to be a secondary link to anybody that has my old website. It'll take it right to the new one.
Okay.
But
Nice.
I
Yeah.
mean, but honestly, people know me as me now. They don't say J of WPI, they just say my name. And
Which is great. I think that's the way it should be.
well, it is. And my wife's
Yeah.
always like, don't let your head get too big, that door is only. And I'm like, I try to stay as humble as I can. And I don't know if a man can be humble by saying I'm humble, but it's the truth. It's like I
Yeah.
like my simple little corner here in Southeast Wisconsin with my
Yep.
family. Going to church and loving our
Yeah.
family. And, so that's really what matters to me. And it's not even
That's
so
good.
much
That's good.
going out trying to prove Bigfoot exists. One of my biggest statements, and I didn't say this in Finding Jay, but after that kind of came out, it was more, people kept saying, Jay, it was this hunter throwing rocks, or what you saw was this, what you saw, whatever. Okay, whatever. Whether you believe or not, just go out and discover for yourself. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit
Go
here and
for
try
it.
to convince you anymore
Yep.
of what's real, what's not. Take my word on it or don't, and it doesn't matter. I'm not going to try to convince you. I'm not going to shove it down your throat that it's
Yep.
Bigfoot. Personally, I think Bigfoot 100% exists out there. So
It could. Why
yeah,
not?
I'm still
I'm with you.
researching.
I'm with you
Yeah,
on that. Yeah.
good.
All
So
right.
yeah, I'm still researching, but it's been about a month since I've been out, and that's okay. It's okay because everybody knows me that used to go out every week, except deer hunting. And they're like, well, how's it been going? And I said, it's slow, but you know what? This whole researching, investigating for myself
Mm-hmm.
it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
That's right. It's a marathon. Yep. Yep.
That's it. So yeah.
Yeah. And eventually we'll get past the COVID-19 and it'll be back time to research again.
Yeah.
Again, thank
Definitely.
you for coming on the podcast tonight. It's awesome to get your actual thoughts about certain things from the documentary. And my listeners will definitely be checking out your website at jaybachochin.com. And we'll be looking forward to Finding Jay, the Lost Tapes, coming out this summer, which is super, super exciting. But
it's going to be close, but thank you very much for having me on my show. But if you want to find me, there are links to Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook on my website. My thing is that whenever I post, I'm posting on like 4 or 5 different things at once. It's getting tiring.
It's
So
crazy.
it's like, I'm just going to try to focus on the website. But if you happen to be on Facebook and, I have pages, personal, Finding Jay, I've got too many. I got too many, man.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks again, Jay. We'll need to cut it off now because I'm the cheap Zoom user, so we're at 40 minutes, right?
You
But
got it.
hopefully we'll have to do a follow up, maybe in a few months or a year or something like that. I'll hit you up and we'll see what we can find out after Lost Tapes come out, and we'll chat about that. I think that'd be good. So
definitely. Thanks for
all
having
right.
me. I truly appreciate the opportunity.
Nice to chat with you, Jay. Have a good one.
You too.